Gazing to the Ocean of the Sky. Written by David Silver. Read by No One and Nobody. Chapter 10. Something Interesting. Twilight took the scroll in her magic and unfurled it quickly, her eyes scanning quickly left and right as she muttered under her breath. Her eyes widened with every word she absorbed. Cherry drifted closer from slightly below.
Is something wrong? Who's Celestia?
The scroll vanished in a puff as Twilight turned to her guest.
She's the ruler of this entire nation, and she has some bad news for us.
She glanced off a moment, her hooves fidgeting with obvious worry. Spike put a claw against her side supportively.
Whatever it is, we'll handle it. Should I get the girls?
No, Spike.
She shook her head.
Not this time.
Starlight pointed at herself.
What about me? I'm already here.
Twilight looked indecisive a moment before Cherry hopped up out of the water, making the hallway just outside her new room a bit wet.
Twilight, everyone on the land is baked in the sun to make me feel welcome. Whatever the problem is, I'll help. Stop looking so worried.
Twilight smiled at that.
You're right. All of you. We'll face this together.
She put a hoof to her chest and took a slow breath as she extended that hoof.
All right, so here's the deal. Celestia sent me an old mare's tale, and she wouldn't do that if it wasn't relevant. It says that a foal of the sea will emerge to be greeted by royalty, but in with her comes a tsunami.
Spike tilted his head a little.
What?
Twilight waved a hoof.
Big wave. I doubt that part's literal. That's the problem with prophecies. They're never literal.
Cherry tilted her head.
I just made a wave when I jumped out of my room. Does that count?
Twilight quirked a little smile.
I doubt it. There is a hint here. Whatever is coming has to be following you.
Cherry put up her hooves, flopping over in the process.
I didn't do anything.
Starlight reached a hoof over, placing it on Cherry's back.
No pony's blaming you. She just means your direction. Twilight, do you think it means something's coming from the sea?
Twilight bobbed her head, then sighed.
Pinky's going to be upset.
Starlight frowned a little.
I think we're taking what is an admittedly old mare's tale a touch too literally.
Twilight perked an ear.
All right, what do you think it is?
Starlight pointed at Cherry.
You are, for better or worse, a huge new thing. Some pony may react to that badly. We should be careful of that, not monsters rising from the depths.
Spike waved it off.
What? Nah. Did you see how the ponies reacted? They were happy to see Cherry. And why shouldn't they be?
Cherry glanced from pony to dragon, and back.
So, what are we doing?
Twilight sank to her haunches.
Nothing. Starlight has a point, and we should keep our eyes open. But assuming there's a huge monster or a wave of creatures is silly. We have a hard time
The castle shook suddenly, making all of them wobble before it stilled. Spike looked in the direction of the noise downstairs.
What the hey was that?
Twilight frowned.
Maybe our tsunami came to us instead of waiting.
She set off at a gallop, vanishing around a corner. Cherry twisted upright and got a wrench into position to get her mechanical legs working, walking in tandem with them to get herself moving. But she wasn't going nearly as fast as Twilight. Starlight stayed with Cherry, her magic plucking up Spike and dropping him on her back.
Come on, we'll find out what's going on.
They came downstairs to find Twilight facing a literal angry mob, torches and pitchforks at the ready, and unhappy frowns across every face. Before them was a battered but intact Pinkie Pie. Twilight was already addressing the crowd.
What in Equestria are you all thinking?
One advanced, with a gray mane and spectacles. The mayor nodded at Twilight.
We hear you have a siren in your castle. Is this true?
Twilight thrust a hoof at Pinkie.
I think we have more pressing questions. What did you...
The gray-haired mane pointed past Twilight.
There she is. She's controlling the princess.
The crowd roared into action, pressing around their wizened leader and starting to cram through the door towards Cherry. She squealed in surprise and dismay and started to turn in place, only to flop over as she lost her balance in the heat of the moment. Starlight clapped her forehooves as her horn began to glow brightly. Several of the ponies slowed to a stop with glazed looks on their eyes as others rushed past them, the angry shouts only getting louder. Twilight shot Starlight a sour look at the mental magic, but it was short-lived, with the crowd shoving its way to her and right past her.
Stop this!
She cried, but the ponies weren't listening to her at all.
We'll save you, princess!
You just wait right here!
A Pegasus dropped down on Twilight from above and tried to force her to the ground.
We'll take care of that monster and free you in no time!
Spike cringed with worry.
I think it's time to get out of here!
You got that right!
Starlight plucked up the panicked Cherry from the floor.
Ponyville's not safe right now.
With a bright surge of magic, all three of them vanished, leaving behind a crowd that cheered and whooped at their victory. Their princess was safe.